no. But what does no mean, right? No means that he should be able to define, he should be able to describe, he should be able to match the pair, he should be able to interpret if it is comprehension. So these words give it observability, add observability to the action that is expected of the student, and then I can measure it, right? So that is the purpose of Bloom's taxonomy. Any questions still here?
So there are no questions in the chat box. Probably the teachers, if you have any query, feel free to ask the questions.
Yeah, ask questions rather than the chat box. It is better because we
Sir,
can see. Yeah. Yeah.
so it would mean creation is the highest level of learning outcome,
Yes. Yes.
right? So to be able to create something
Yeah.
is the ultimate outcome.
Yeah, but that is from the for the cognitive domain, sir. That is for the cognitive domain. Yeah, and different domains. There are three domains we spoke about, right? We spoke about psychomotor domain, which is skills related. If it is about something related to doing, right? The psychomotor domain, the highest level, the levels are different. For the affective domain, which is values related, am I talking about values or am I talking about thinking skills? Thinking, feeling, and doing. These three simple things, if you remember. My learning is about thinking, then I should refer to the cognitive list. If my learning is related to feelings, then I should refer to affective list. And if my expectation is pertaining to skills and doing skills, right? Particularly in design courses, engineering courses, there are quite a few courses where the students actually do. They are not designing anything. Then they're not designing experiments. They're just copying what the teacher says, right? More often than not. And are they able to copy and do it or repeat or replicate what the teacher does? So that's a different level in psychomotor, but creating is a different level in, as I gave you an example of making a paper.
I got the point, sir. So basically, we need to first identify which of the dimension or the vertical the course particularly belongs to, whether it's feeling, doing, or thinking.
Yeah, and rather
And
than
then accordingly, we should design the course outcomes.
Yeah, rather than categorizing the course, categorize the activities that you expect a student to do. Go a little more granular. Within a course, you would have a mix and match of that. Some cognitive skills, some doing skills, some feeling related, some values. Just to give you an example, let's say, for example, statistics as a course, right? What has got the course got to do with values? There would be questions about it, right? But in statistics, you talk about data sources, data integrity, right? And it's one of the values.
Yes, yes.
So if you're assessing those values in some component or the other, you can map it to a certain extent to a course outcome or a program level outcome related to values.
But what if we are not assessing at all?
Yeah, if you're not assessing, don't map it. If you're assessing as a part of the course, not every program outcome, not every skills has to be assessed in every course, right? So whatever your focus area, what are your expectations, that only need to be mapped.
Okay.
Okay. And in the program, it is program manager's job to make sure that every skills get assessed in at least two programs, two set of courses, two course outcomes related and assessed for every program level outcome. There should not be any outcome which is hanging, which is not assessed in any of the courses. That's one of the key things that the program manager should look at. Come as a faculty, for me, it is simple. Whatever I plan to assess, I should categorize that. Is it skill? Is it value? Say, for example, I come from management domain, marketing in particular. So I would keep on referring to those examples. Marketing, generally, we would talk about selling, marketing, basic concepts, right? And I can have a course outcome related to that also.
Decided by the faculties, right?
Yeah,
they decide what is the possible outcome of the course.
Yeah, possible outcome of the course, but it has to be decided in the context of the program. Just to explain it a little further, I am a statistics teacher, right? And statistics becomes the most important subject in the universe for me, right? Everything is statistics. For every teacher, the most important subject for him is the subject that he is expert in. And he thinks that unless the course is studied in depth, the student is not good enough to to get out of the pass out of the program. So lopsided focus can happen from faculty side, but a course is to be taught in the context of the program outcomes. Say statistics is an important course. The statistics is being taught to a BSc statistics graduate, and statistics as a mandatory course, a core course being taught to a management graduate also. The role of the course in the overall expectation of the program is different, right?
Sure.
If the same statistics teacher is teaching the course level expectations are different. Another example, say accounting as a course gets taught in, let's say, BBA LLB course, which is a 5-year integrated program, right? And it also is a part of BBA course, BBA regular management course. So the content may be similar. However, the outcomes could be different because a BBA graduate is looking for business decision making using business accounting as a course, the management accounting. Whereas in case of law, the focus shifts. He should study this not just as the limitation in terms of business decision making, but as a fundamental piece of evidence, right? So the outcomes might vary based on the what kind of program are you running and what are the program level outcomes. Because I am running my course in the context of the program to help the students finally attain the program level competencies, which will help him attain his career or reach some level, expected level at the end of maybe 5-10 years down the line, whenever he passes or after passing out of the program. So it is largely decided by the faculty, right? Because these are domain related areas. But what is the extent of those? What are the limitations on that is decided by
The program coordinator can have a say over there. You need to align the course outcomes to the program outcomes.
Yes. And when mapping gets done, so possibly it could be a top-down process, or it could be a parallel process where the faculty defines the course outcomes and then subsequently they are mapped to program outcomes. And whenever the program manager sees the intensity of particular outcome is lesser, then he can check back with the faculty. Can you assess this particular skill in your course? Is it not relevant to your course, right? So sometimes that realignment can happen, and there should not be any hanging program outcome, a program outcome which is not being assessed in any of the course outcomes, or there should not be any course outcome which is not mapped to any program outcomes. Right? That is called constructive alignment. Constructive alignment means if you are attaining the lowest level of outcomes, it means that if you have attained that, you have attained the higher level outcomes, right? And that way, if you attain all the course outcome to a satisfactory level, automatically it would mean that you have attained the program outcomes, the competencies defined at the program level. And it also means that if you have attained all the program level competencies, it does mean that you are set in the direction of the program educational objectives, and you are likely to reach where your target is 5 to 10 years down the line.
Sure.
Am I making sense? That's the process
of course.
alignment.
Yeah, please. Yes, definitely.
So I'll just give me a second. I've stopped sharing, so I'll share it again. So when I share the video, I'm not able to see people. So sometimes it becomes. So that's Bloom's taxonomy we have seen. So I'll show you. There are 2 dimensions, a little more complex Bloom's taxonomy, if you want to see it. They talk about 2 dimensions. This is a revised version of This is the cognitive process dimension. We spoke about this, and we spoke about these levels: remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create, right? This we've been through, right? And then they talk about a matrix structure where they're talking about some other dimension, which is called knowledge dimensions. The knowledge dimensions, different levels of knowledge. The knowledge could be factual knowledge, conceptual knowledge, procedural knowledge, and metacognitive knowledge. The definitions are given. Knowledge of terminology is factual knowledge, whereas conceptual knowledge is knowledge of classifications and categories. Procedural knowledge is knowledge of subject-specific skills and algorithms. And metacognitive knowledge, strategic knowledge, knowing about cognitive tasks. When I said, you please refer, whatever is in your mind, you refer to this Bloom's taxonomy list, and then pick up the verb which is nearest expression of what you intend to do. right? But still the knowledge can be based on this if it is factual knowledge, knowledge of terminology, explain the list the elements of marketing mix. If it's conceptual, then recognize is the verb that you should use. The same recall is a verb that you should use for procedural knowledge, and metacognitive is identify. So that's a further configuration and going more granular in terms of the Bloom's taxonomy list. But I don't suggest that you should go to such granular level. Subjectively, it does happen. As a faculty member, you would know the difference between what is recognized and what is recall. And both all these four verbs will be listed in the list for remembering as a level, and you can pick up which is the nearest verb which is nearest to your idea, and then you can use that. So although for knowledge sake you can have this understanding, but you need not go by this I need to classify this, what kind of knowledge I expect the student to acquire, factual, conceptual, procedural, and then refer to the list. It will automatically happen as a faculty, so you need not go into details of this. But for understanding sake, yes, this is what it is. Knowledge of terminology, knowledge of specific details and elements. So you would have specific terms within the list of remembering. For knowledge of terminology, factual knowledge, you would have certain terms referred, certain verbs assigned. For conceptual knowledge, you would have certain verbs. For procedural knowledge, you would have certain verbs, and you are expected to pick up the same verbs from the list. Right? But it will complicate matters. It is easier not to refer to these levels of knowledge, but go by the understanding of what is the Bloom's taxonomy, running list of verbs, what is my idea, what is that I expect the student to do, pick up the verb which comes nearest, and then check. For a second check, you can refer to whether am I really testing conceptual knowledge or procedural knowledge. If it is procedural, is the verb that I've used, action verb, is right or not, right? This is for judgment, right? uh, so this is a sample behavioral statement that I picked up from the net. So knowledge, the first level, or this is remembering level. Student recalls and recognizes information, ideas, and principles in the approximate form in which they learned. The verbs, sample verbs are write, list, label, name, state, define. And sample outcome could be the student will define the 6 levels of Bloom's taxonomy of the cognitive domain. So if this is a workshop that we are conducting, right, a 1.5 hour interaction that we are having, and we are talking about Bloom's taxonomy, right? Bloom's taxonomy, if I want to assign some levels to it, so what is the level that I am targeting at? So if my target is the play and recall, what are the 6 levels of Bloom's, I will ask list, and that's the assessment that I would do. But if I expect the application level, the student will write an instructional objective for each level of Bloom's taxonomy. That's what my target is after at the end of the session. So using this Bloom's taxonomy, the participants will be able to. So that's application level, level 3. So what kind of words? Use, compute, solve, demonstrate, apply, construct. So construct an outcome for your course, right? Going higher, so similarly, you can use domains and other things for making it a little more complex. This is an example of Bloom's taxonomy, teaching Bloom's taxonomy, using Bloom's taxonomy to teach Bloom's taxonomy, right? So I'll share this slide with you. So, but sample outcomes are mentioned here. Then this is another example. So this is a combination of this. Remember level, factual knowledge, you can use label, map, list names. For understanding, you can use the words factual knowledge, interpret, paragraph, summarize. But for conceptual knowledge, you can use describe, taxonomy in own words. For procedural knowledge, you can use paraphrase, problem solving, success. So this is a matrix which can be prepared, and you can pick up the right verbs using this. Barring this, you would have these verbs enlisted. For remember, This will be a running list of all the verbs. You can pick up any verb, and subjectively, I assure you, if you know the noun and what is that you expect the students, you will not go wrong in terms of categorization of knowledge, right? And then there's some resources which I have culled out for you. So this is a resource which talks about a blog which talks about various resources related to helping teacher on Bloom's taxonomy. This is a blog, and there are several resources given here, including Bloom's taxonomy, then how to use it. There are some videos also using the Hollywood films where uh, they have applied Bloom's taxonomy to those films. And some other resources. Some people have evolved tools for that, rubrics for that. So you can refer to all these rubrics if you are keen on developing a little more on Bloom's taxonomy. Right. So for example, this Lion winning the Little Pigs advert, where Bloom's taxonomy verbs are used, the House of Bricks. So people have done so many things on Bloom's taxonomy. You can refer to this. Another resource is there is a learning outcome easy generator, right? So we'll write about how do we write outcomes, and this is an online generator. You can use this link to generate outcomes. Who is the learner? You can mention that. The next step is what, right? How, and get to. So you can keep on feeding the verbs, and you will get an outcome written here. So you can copy and paste that and use that as an outcome. That is an outcome generator. So we spoke about ABCD model. Did we know? I don't think I've referred to that. ABCD model is audience who, right? B is behavior along with goal. C is the condition, and there is fourth part is a degree, to what extent, right? This ABCD is a simple way of defining outcome. We'll come to that in the next session, because how to write outcomes is next part of the session. Today's focus is Bloom's taxonomy, right? And of course, its role in the in writing outcomes. And then the third link is this is one university where quite a few. I've gone through several university websites, but this university I found the outcomes to be appropriately written. So there, the Bloom's taxonomy verbs are appropriately used. Say here, identify, name, list, explain, prepare, illustrate, describe. So these are some of the courses that you can refer to while writing your outcomes if the course is relevant to you. But that's what Bloom's taxonomy is all about, and using Bloom's taxonomy for writing good outcomes. And that's it from me for as a session. But we can continue interacting and taking questions. Yeah.
If there are questions, the participants can kindly unmute and please ask, because this is one of the very important part in our education system, outcome-based education. And till now, we are in an infancy stage. This is an evolving process. So any doubt pertaining, any department, any program coordinators pertaining to any doubts related to this one, like outcome-based education and developing programs, specific outcome, course outcome, may feel free to ask questions to sir.
Yeah, you need not restrict yourself to Bloom's taxonomy. You can ask questions about outcome-based education. Some of the questions that I can preempt is some people use the student should be able to understand, right? Never use the term understanding is an internal process, right? Use an action verb. Understanding is not an action verb, right? When does a student understand it? When he demonstrates a behavior. What are those behavioral action verbs that are given by Bloom's taxonomy? When he is able to match the pair, I would say he understands, right? If he is able to compare two things, this versus that, then I would say that he understands, right? Learning is again internal process. The manifestation of learning in terms of the action demonstrated by the participant is to be captured in terms of the outcome. Right? That's one question that I would like to preempt. So never use terms which are enlisted levels, right? Understanding or remembering or applying, right? Apply, of course, is a level and a verb too, action verb too. Second is many people could have questions like how many outcomes to have. I have a course, how many outcomes should I have? Generally, 5 is a standard term given by, but it is decided by the forces. As a faculty, as a teacher, I would like to know performance of the student on every single topic in the syllabus, right? But that entails that writing 20, 25, 30 outcomes, right? And based on, because outcome based education requires that every outcome that you mention needs to be assessed, and you don't have so many assessment opportunities, right? So lack of opportunities to assess versus the desire to have a more granular judgment about the student, these are two forces. The interaction should decide the outcomes, number of outcomes. And generally, for a 3-credit course, 5 to 6, 5 to 9 outcomes is a good enough a number. Generally, you should have one outcome for each module, capturing the essence of the module, right? At the course level. And of course, you can add one or two beyond, maybe skill level or maybe values related outcomes if you are assessing those in the course. Another question is communication skills. Is communication skills the only course measuring communication skills at the program level? No, every course has activities, a set of activities where you're assessing communication skills. That's why you have rubrics. When students do a project, right, you generally prepare parameters and scale on those parameters. A combination of that is also communication skills too. The only thing that you don't do is subjectively, you don't earmark any assessment marks for that communication component. You generally 25 में से कितना है, right? If you have a rubric, you can assess those, you can capture those, and you can map those components to the communication related skills. So in marketing management, when you give team project, you are assessing team skills, you are assessing communication skills, you are assessing presentation skills too, you are assessing life learning skills too, right? So find out what you are assessing and map that component to that extent to that program level outcome. So it is not necessary if you have program communication skills at a program level, only communication skills as a course can map to that, right? Every course can map to that, provided you are assessing communication skills. And whatever extent you are mapping, map it to that extent. Maybe strong, moderate, weak, whatever scale you are using. Any other question that comes to your mind?
So we have a question in the chat box.
Do we need to mention course outcomes on the question paper? Yes. See, the extent, the granularity is important. Granularity is important because what generally is happening when outcome-based education suddenly came and NAC wanted every educational, higher educational institute to do outcome-based education. There are university affiliated colleges where end semester question is not under their control, right? So only internal components they're under their control. You are an autonomous college, if I believe, right? So you would have the authority to every assessment that you should conduct, map it to some outcome or the other. It increases the scope. It gives you a better granular judgment and better insights. So generally education, higher education institutes are doing it assessment task wise. Say a multiple choice test you're conducting, and in the initial phase when you're doing outcome based education, you would tend to dedicate it to a particular outcome, and you would ask questions related to that outcome in that multiple choice test, mapping it to that outcome. You need not do it. You can divide it into different elements. Each question can be a separate element, and you can map it to the respective outcome. So it is not necessary that you need to conduct a dedicated test for a particular outcome. You can have questions, sub-questions converted into assessment elements, and that element can be mapped to a particular outcome. In order to go granular, the more granular you go, the more insightful judgment, more reflective judgment you will get. Am I making sense? In the term and paper also mention what kind of, so if there is a term and five questions. The first question is related to basic concepts, right? It is outcome number one. You map it to outcome number one. Second question, there are parts A and B. The first part is mapping outcome number one. The second part is outcome number two and one combined, right? You can assign weightages. The last question is a combined question. It's a what you call capstone question, like a case study, right? It is connected with all the outcomes, outcome number 1, 2, 3, because it covers all the understanding essence of the course. So you can map it to all outcomes, but you can vary the degree, right? Assessment marks maybe it is mapping weakly to outcome number 1, but strongly to outcome number 5. So, for example, in marketing management, you cannot suggest a positioning strategy unless you understand the concept of marketing mix. So there could be an outcome related to positioning strategy as a module 4 outcome, and there could be an outcome which is related to marketing mix in module 1, basic understanding of module 1. So when you're asking describe marketing mix, right, that question would strongly map to outcome number 1, which is marketing mix related, and not map at all to outcome number 4, which is positioning related. But when you're asking a question, there is a case study given, positioning related case study, and the student is expected to solve the case. Unless he understands what marketing mix is, he would not be able to solve it. Internal component. I think the current model that you have is you take internal model, internal assessment 1, task 1, task 2, and then based on that you arrive at the CU attendance scores. And the term and examination, you take all the 5 marks and assign it to different outcomes. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
So maybe you can go granular. You can go granular provided you have a system to record that, and so it's simple. The more granular you go, the better judgment you get. So in a question, say for example, if you give a field project to a student, a set of students, and in that प्रोजेक्ट का जनरल क्या होगा कि आप प्रोजेक्ट में डोमेन नॉलेज भी टेस्ट करते हैं, प्रेजेंटेशन भी स्किल टेस्ट करते हैं, टीम स्किल्स भी टेस्ट करते हैं, देयर आर मल्टीपल स्किल्स दैट यू टेस्ट. सो इफ यू आर असाइनिंग 25 आउट ऑफ 25 मार्क का प्रोजेक्ट है, कितना मिला हर बच्चे को, राइट? दैट इज वन असेसमेंट टास्क एंड यू आर रिकॉर्डिंग द मार्क्स वन टाइम. So the one-time marks would be mapped to degree, maybe strongly, moderately weak to different skills. Team skills को कुछ component जाएगा. But if you want to really go granular, you can divide that project assessment. There would be a rubric for assessment of the project. So domain knowledge, maybe 10 marks. Team skills, 5 marks. Presentation skills, 3 marks. Values, 2 marks. So out of the 25 marks distribution, every element you will record it and then map it to the respective skill. So you will get a final judgment. Otherwise, the other way is 25 mark का project था, कितना मिला? तो डोमेन को सबसे ज्यादा जाएगा. It will be strongly connected, so 100% to domain, maybe 50% to communication skills and 25% to skills, team skills. So it is about granularity. The more granular you go, the finer input you record, the better judgment you would get. That is the essence of outcome. It's like a continuum. Abhi simple processes. If you take examination marks prior to outcome based model, it is simple, internal and external assessments, and you record those marks and you get whether a student is passed or not, right? And what is the difference between the same marks you are using for outcome based education? The difference is in the examination system, right? Even now because exam is still disconnected, the alignment is not perfect between outcome based model and examination. So somebody who has passed only just 2 outcomes, have failed on 3 outcomes, yet would have cleared the course. It's perfectly possible. Is it possible in your context? No. Can somebody confirm it? So a course today, you have 5 outcomes, right?
Yes,
and
sir.
independently the examination system is running without mapping to outcome based, or the outcome based, we are not purely evolving the outcome based question paper, right? So it is perfectly possible when you do outcome based analytics, right? It is possible that the
Correct,
student
sir.
would not have performed on 3 outcomes, yet he has cleared the course.
Yes, yes, it will happen.
It tends to happen because there is no alignment, and because In today's system, out of the 5 topics, the student can study only 2 topics and score the minimum 40% that is required for him. So without studying anything on the remaining 3 outcomes, he can still clear the course, right? That is the assessment pattern that we have today. If the university examination is there, right, it is possible. So because the alignment has to improve. So through outcome-based education, the alignment would improve and the students would start getting a question paper where he would not be able to clear the course unless he clears the minimum standard defined for each of the outcome.
Sir,
Yeah.
that is true that if that is the case, and it is the case as you said, so the more tangible, so it would depend on the degree of tangibility of the outcomes. So if the outcomes are less tangible,
Yeah.
then it would again still subject to the subjectivity of the faculties. Like if the teacher is, and with the changing, if you change the teacher or the course instructor, the outcomes will be, if the outcomes are not clearly tangible, I mean, if they are defined, if the course is of that particular domain where it may not be that much tangible possibly, then there is always a chance of different faculties having different outcomes, different time. In that case, it makes a lot of effort and a lot of vigility it demands on part of the people who are administering the course. Right.
Probably I think there is a gap between what I explained. So the teachers do contribute to evolving the outcome-based model, right? So when you say a curricular map of outcome-based education, there are program outcomes, there are course outcomes. They're largely contributed by the faculty members, but reviewed and settled once, right? They are agreed by all the faculty members and approved by some authority within the college, right? If there is a BOS or academic council, so that authority approves that model, and that model becomes a sacrosanct model. In a program, you cannot have, if 3 faculty members are teaching 3 different the same course in 3 different division sections, you cannot have 3 sets of outcome for that course, right? So you would have a program level model agreed that these are the course outcome. The syllabus will be, curriculum syllabus will be same, but the treatment might vary from faculty to faculty. The assessment would vary as long as he is assessing the same outcomes. The session plan can be different, but the outcomes have to be the same for within the same program for the same course. And that's a model that you would settle. Once it is approved, then only it will be implemented, right? So, for example, you're running a BBA program, right? And there are let's say intake of 300, 5 divisions, 5 sections. Not one faculty cannot teach across 5 divisions, right? So you will assign 2 different teachers. Where a teacher would be told, these are it's a set of outcomes. This is the syllabus given to you. In the light of these outcomes, in the light of these program outcomes and the course outcome given to you, you please deliver this learning experience to the students so that the students are able to perform on those outcomes. The curriculum becomes an instrument of attaining outcomes. Per se, curriculum is not important. Curriculum becomes an instrument of helping the student perform on their outcomes, right? So the outcomes, the model, the curricular map, once agreed, it will settle on that model for 3-4 years. Review that after 3-4 years. It is not dynamically today a faculty thinks that I want to change my outcome. It should not happen, right? The faculty should contribute to evolution of the curricular map in terms of outcomes related to his course, right? And once he contributes those outcomes, they will be reviewed by the peers and agreed by the peers and the authorities, the program managers. And once those curricular map in terms of the outcomes is settled, then every teacher should stand by that and every teacher should deliver it the way the outcomes are defined. So I am a teacher in a particular division and somebody else is another teacher in the same program within and teaching another division. My methodologies could be different, but I'm targeting the same level of outcomes. So maybe somebody is teaching, taking a case, somebody else is taking a simulation, but the targeted outcome and the assessed outcomes are the same. So the assessment can also vary. I might run a simulation to assess the student on, let's say, business plan related competency, or I may give him a business plan, some students a business plan to make, right? But the competency that I'm assessing, the outcome that I'm assessing, the assessment tool, I'm mapping it to that outcome.
So what should be the appropriate tenure after which program outcomes and everything should be revised?
3 to 5 years.
Considering the dynamic situation of industry and the student
So
capabilities.
what is the period of revision of the curriculum? So you can take that because there are multiple levels of learning that can happen. So first is at the course level. You get course level analytics, right? And as a faculty, you can take lessons from that and change your methodologies, targets. You can change your remedial interventions, assessments also. As a faculty, you keep on getting those insights. Second, at the curriculum level also, you would get lessons as to this particular competency my students are not doing well, or there is a corporate feedback coming on this competency, right? So there, that time maybe you want to introduce a course, or you may want to focus more on a particular competency, right? And play with the course mix that is available. That's also possible. So at the course level, faculty can experiment with the session plan. Today, a particular session course outcome, majority of the students have not attended. My attendance levels are falling. So what went wrong with that session? Can I change the methodology? Can I change instead of a case study? Can I take a simulation? Or this case study was used? Can I use another case study? Right? Can I give an online exercise to students to make their performance better? Am I really assessing what I intend to assess, or am I assessing something else? Particularly in case of projects, sometimes the students who are better at presentations, right, have not actually done any job on the field, get better marks because the tool for used for assessment is a presentation, right? So as a faculty, when you review those marks and attainments, then you would get better insights. Is this really the right methodology? Can I experiment with this methodology? And then you would also get a list of students who have not attend a particular outcome. So quite a few students have not performed well on the outcome. So what went wrong with my methodology in that outcome? Is it something wrong with my methods? Is it something wrong with the assessments that I did? Is it something wrong with the students? You can review that with the help of peers, or maybe you can self-criticism, and you can improve those maybe in the same cycle or maybe in the next cycle. That's a course level learning that you can get based on analytics. At the program level, of course, there would be learning because through mapping, if the mapping is done appropriately, the COs are defined appropriately, the constructive alignment is proper, then you would start getting appropriately reflecting program analytics. Competency, let's say communication skills is a competency. What is the attainment level? Problem solving skills, analytics competency, what is the level of attainment? So is it less? Do I need to add some courses here? Do I need to offer a value add course here? Do I need to let the students undergo a workshop here? So those kind of program level within 3 years you can ask, and then based on that feedback, then you would have enough data for syllabus revision 3-4 years down the line, and at that time you can change your course mix 3-4-5 years, whatever time frame you decide. But the model has to mature first, right? The validity of the measurements have to be there. Otherwise, what generally happens is when you start measuring the competencies for the heck of measuring those, right, for technicalities purposes, then you would not get a real picture. And based on those unreal picture, if you make some assessments and make some improvements, those would not be valid. So outcome-based education does have some gestation period, 3 to 5 years. If you work seriously, then 3 years is a gestation cycle for understanding of how to write outcomes, understanding, assessing, assessment of validity of assessments, right? Quantum of assessments, granularity of assessment. Based on that, you will get some figures, and then maybe 2-3 years down the line, you would really be in a position to have captured my outcomes appropriately. The targets are defined appropriately, and I am fairly comfortable that I'm getting the right kind of analytics.
Right. So to sum up, sir, we can say in present scenario, 5 years down the line, we should appraise these things.
Yes. So it is like tweaking here, and then you would start getting the result there. So adding a course here would automatically lead to improvement in the competency there. So that kind of fine alignment is a task, and it's a learning curve. It does not happen overnight. It's a learning curve. Another important thing about outcome-based education is our thought processes. There are two kinds of OBE model that Paddy has spoken about. The originator of this. One is he called a transformational OBE and a transitional OBE. What we're trying to do is we're not transforming. It's a top-down approach expected, right? So you start from the outcomes, the exit outcomes, then convert them into program competencies, program outcomes, then start on designing the curricular mix, and then subsequently move on to your teaching learning plan, and then design assessments. and implement it in the reverse order, and then that way you should go top-down approach. But generally, the approach that's called transformational OBE, right? Reviewing the whole program comprehensively. Well, it's not possible because the other kind of model is transitional OBE. Whatever we're doing, we try and align it with the expectations of outcome-based model. So I won't change much what I'm doing, but try and align it with the outcomes, defining outcomes, mapping it to outcomes, checking whether this is happening. This transitional model today would lead to transformational OB, maybe 3, 4, 5 years down the line. So then that time you would be able to say these outcomes are attained, so award of degree is fine. Even the outcome-based accreditation models, majority of the indicators in accreditation are still input-based, right? So the accreditation models are input-based, process-based, and there are indicators, input indicators, process indicators, output indicators, and outcome indicators. Although they are saying we are following OBA, outcome-based accreditation, large part of the indicators are still input-based. They would check infrastructure. They would check the quantum of delivery, number of hours, duration is still limited. So most of the factors are still input-based. So today the scenario is not like a student clears all the outcome and within 6 months he gets a postgraduate degree. No, 2 years mandatorily he has to spend on campus to be eligible to get a PG degree. Right, so that's the regulatory constraints. Within those regulatory constraints, the outcome based model has to be implemented. So the alignment has to be there, constructive alignment and behavioral curves, measurement of the behaviors, and improvement have to be implemented. So as we go along, gain more and more experience, the insights would be developed, more mature model would come out, more refined judgments and analytics would come out. So today we are internal versus external. These 2 components we are assessing. Internal 3 components. External 1 component, 2, 3, 4 components assessment task, and we are aggregating marks based on that. When outcome-based model is to be judged, then assessment, the course outcome number 1, I need to assess it for 15 marks. Where do I ask? In multiple choice test number 1, I'm asking question number 3. Mid semester time, I'm asking part B of question number 2, which is for 5 marks, and then term and test, I'm asking a big question which is worth 10 marks, 10 plus 3 plus 5, and I have recorded the marks of the student that way. Then I'll start getting a better and more refined judgment for outcome-based analytics. It's just a progression, it's a learning curve. In the first phase, not everybody is able to implement that, but as the maturity develops, as the understanding develops, we start implementing. It's a learning curve, and everybody is learning on that path, because measurement of learning is not an easy thing. Everybody is struggling with that. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, of course, sir. In that case, I think we should have a new practice also, that mentioning a date from which these course outcomes are applicable, like something of that sort, so that their expiry is very much clear, their applicability and things like that.
Yeah, in the first phase, you draft outcomes today and you realize that these outcomes are not appropriate, but you should wait for some time if you're settled on those. That's why peer review is an important mechanism. So PEO, the exit outcomes, you take stakeholder feedback, understand their expectations, capture those expectations, make them aspirational. When it comes to translating PEOs into POs, it is the faculty member who should do that. And it is not appropriate to copy outcomes from the other places, because there are quite a few context-specific drivers, context-specific elements, which the institution will only understand. So you need to draft your outcomes in your own context, relevant to you, relevant to your stakeholders, relevant to your students, and then make them work.
So the course and the content would be same. Yeah, sure.
Yes, the same content you can deliver UG, PG. The topic is depth, methodology, intent, spirit, perspective. These all things vary, and that is based on the treatment that a faculty member does. The treatment of the faculty member should be defined by the perspective which comes from the program.
Sure.
Right, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I think Dr. Ritvik had asked this doubt specifically because ours is an autonomous college. So syllabus revision happens, but usually syllabus revision happens once in 3 years. So, sir, after the completion of a particular batch, if we want to add certain topics to a particular course, or we want to add a module, then we may have to think about one more course outcome. So,
yeah, and build traceability, what analytics that you got, and what is the connection of that analytics and stakeholder feedback, with the revision. So once you
Okay.
do that, good score on on the accreditation part.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. And in our case, sir, the course outcomes are specifically developed by the faculty members, and there might be 3 to 4 faculty members who are expert in a particular subject. And as you mentioned, this will move on to the board of studies, then further to the academic council. So, like keen or clear-cut knowledge about outcome-based education, how to frame POs, how to frame PSOs, as well as COs among the faculty is very much crucial at this point of time when we are talking about all these things in an elaborative way or achievable course outcomes.
Right.
So yeah.
So today we what we did was today take a look at what outcome-based model expectations are. What is the role of Bloom's taxonomy in defining it? Because defining outcomes becomes important in the context of outcome-based education. Understanding the significance of the outcomes and role of Bloom's taxonomy in defining the outcomes. The other questions we answered in sideways, but tomorrow's sessions I'll take those questions related to drafting POs, what are PSOs, how do you go about them, and if you want to get into the analytics part, how do you the assessment design, assessment and mapping part. We'll get into details of that.
Sure. Thank you so much, sir. Yeah, please. Over
I,
to Dr.
I hope the session made sense. Do let me know if there are some questions which are unaddressed.
Absolutely, sir. And I'm absolutely sure, sir, that self-learning and self-criticism are the two keys which will definitely help us achieve our desired results in the
Yeah,
long run.
that's the intent. So 50% in
Self-criticism
OB.
and self-learning, I think these are the two keywords that we should take as a takeaway from this particular session. And thank you so much, sir, for sharing your expertise on Bloom's taxonomy with us. And I'm sure it is a fruitful addition to our prior knowledge of outcome-based education. We are certainly looking forward to tomorrow's session at 3 p.m. On the topic how to develop POs, PSOs, and COs. So our heartfelt gratitude, sir, for sparing your time. Thank you so much, sir. We are looking forward to your session tomorrow as well. Thank you,
Thank you.
participants, for joining the session. Thanks a lot. Have a good day, everybody.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Look forward to meeting you tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Good